It's no secret. I think the authorities are looking at ways to obtain more money into the coffers, for the fiscus, and obviously South Africa is not meeting their targets. So this, in essence, to mitigate that VAT increase of 2%, this was one of the only ways that the revenue authorities could actually obtain a significant additional revenue is by not adjusting the tax brackets.
The South African Revenue Service is said to be quietly lapping up billions of rands from South African workers in the form of a bracket creep. That's according to a report by the Business Day. We did reach out to the Revenue Service and no guest was available for us today, unfortunately. Now, it's estimated that the Revenue Service will collect an additional 19.5 billion rand this year from the source. It is expected to take 18 billion rand from income tax and a further 1.5 billion rand from medical aid tax credits, which also have not been adjusted for inflation. We speak to Tanya Tosen, Tax and Remuneration Specialist at Tax Consulting South Africa on this. Thank you very much, Tanya, for your time this morning. What is a tax bracket creep?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having me on your show today. So basically, in essence, what bracket creep means that because the tax tables weren't adjusted for inflation, which the revenue authorities usually do year on year during the budget speech, in essence, it means that, the top end of the bracket is static at the moment for the past 3 years. So when an employee gets a salary increase or a bonus, potentially they would be pushed into the next marginal tax bracket. This has a significant impact to your net take-home pay because ultimately your pay-as-you-earn amount has increased.
Sure. So why was it not adjusted for inflation? The tax brackets, why were they not adjusted for inflation?
So it's no secret. I think the authorities are looking at ways to obtain more money into the coffers, for the fiscus, and obviously South Africa is not meeting their targets. So this, in essence, to mitigate that VAT increase of 2%, this was one of the only ways that the revenue authorities could actually obtain a significant additional revenue is by not adjusting the tax brackets.
Sure. When you speak of the direct impact on take-home pay, the saying more money, more problems come to mind. So if you get a salary increase higher than inflation, you end up paying more. If you get a bigger increase, you risk moving into a higher tax bracket entirely. And so in terms of the implications for an individual, who has the responsibility, or rather, where do you go to make sure that you meet your obligations and you comply where SARS is concerned?
Well, I think our payroll systems are quite sophisticated, the very good ones that are out in the market. So ultimately, this is passively done on the payroll without individuals actually being aware, unless you really understand our tax system and the progressive tax tables that we utilize. So the only impacts that individuals are really feeling is that they're realizing there's less take-home pay in their pocket, and also with the significant cost of, the cost of living of goods and the way the economy's battling and straining. Individuals are really feeling that pinch in their pocket, not realizing that, it's a double blow at the moment.
You speak of sophisticated payroll systems in the country. I think of somebody who was recently in trouble with the Revenue Service. Maybe not in trouble, but they ended up with a really high bill because their employer, and they are a freelancer, their employer did not update this. So yes, they crept into a different bracket, but they didn't even know, because when you're a freelancer, you'll get this rate this month, and in a couple of months it's adjusted. And so in terms of such situations where you are maybe consulting or you are a freelancer, what do you need to know?
So I think ultimately, remember, the onus of proof always lies on the taxpayer. So there's no room for ignorance anymore. Individuals need to educate themselves and be fully aware of their obligations. I know there's a lot of a trust factor that's put into employers, but it is critical that at the end of the day, the buck actually stops with the individual. Also, just to mention, with this bracket creep, what I should also put out there is that a lot of individuals who fell below the tax threshold previously might be pushed into that first tax bracket. So you're also getting a higher number of employees who weren't paying tax previously who might be caught into the tax net.
Oh,
so that's also a double blow for those lower income earners.
Okay. So it's for everybody, not just high or middle income earners. It's also for low income workers. They'll be impacted as well.
Absolutely.
Does the tax bracket need to then be adjusted? We understand the reasons that have been given and what you have reiterated in terms of the revenue service collecting more, etc., etc. But does it need to be adjusted when you take a look at maybe the cost of living in South Africa? If you have less in your pocket when you take home that pay, it's a little bit of a lot.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And as you mentioned, even the medical aid tax credits haven't been adjusted for inflation for many years. And we were also expecting the Minister of Finance to possibly abolish those to help finance NHI. I'm just very grateful that didn't happen, because all these little items, which might not seem like a lot of money, have a massive impact to everyone's take-home pay. Yeah. I mean, just by not adjusting the brackets, the revenue authorities are projected at getting another 19.5 billion rand. It's massively significant.
It is. It quite is. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Tanya. Tanya Tosen is Tax and Remuneration Specialist at Tax Consulting South Africa.